Well, hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the Girl Dad Joy Summit. Oh, I am so excited. I am here with my sister friend, and we're going to do formal introductions in just a minute. But this is monumental, y'all, and we want you to know that this summit is not just for all dads. So it's for dads who are single, dads who are married, dads who are co parenting, dads in the military. Like, it's for everybody. But this summit is also for the women who love those dads. Okay. It's also for those community influencers who work with dads or who perhaps work with girls. And so we want you to know that everybody is welcome here in the house. So officially, my name is Dr. Carmen. I'm known as the Girl Dad Coach. And what I do is I help dads really learn how to protect their daughters when daughters are away out of, they're out of sight. And the way that they do that is by developing a strong emotional bond with their daughters. So that's what I do. And I am so happy to be co hosting this amazing summit with Zaakirah Muhammad. Zaakirah, introduce yourself, sis.
Hey, well, thank you so much for the partnership, literally the sisterhood throughout, just making sure that, the parents and the daughters are set for this because it's going to be so amazing. I am a daughter. I am the youngest of three older siblings, and I'm so excited for the knowledge. And when I'm not telling stories about family and breaking generational curses, I'm also, this is actually my first time kind of publicly saying this, but I'm also the interim CEO at Sanicle. Sanicle is a menstrual health startup. So they are all about educating. Like we got to start with those conversations, those uncomfortable, taboo conversations, and educate about the menstrual cycle. But on top of that, it's all about building community, bridging those gender war gaps between no, only the dad gotta, just pay for the stuff and not be a part of the emotional process of menstrual health, right? So we're all about education. We're all about community. We're all about conversation. And that's literally what this summer's going to be about. Not just about periods. So don't be like, oh, no, 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 no. It's not just about periods. It's about mind, body, and spirit and just building that relationship with fatherhood. And, we're here from, we were daughters, young girls once, right? So, we definitely have our story to tell and we know that it's going to be educational and insightful. I'm super excited.
Yes. And so, what we're doing during this kickoff, y'all, is we are going to be vibing for just, I don't know, maybe 16 more minutes or so, something like that. And we're going to be talking about the importance of fatherhood from the woman's perspective. And then we're going to jump right into our very first speaker who's going to be kicking it off today. And then we'll come back in the last 5 minutes or so and just really remind you of the amazing lineup that we have for you tomorrow. So that's sort of our agenda for today. So, Zakira, why do you think that, in addition to the things that you've said already, why is this type of summit where we are really centering the experiences of fathers? Why is this so important?
You know what? I literally was thinking about this as, we're getting ready for all of the great things for the summit. And I literally looked up a statistic. And according to 2022, I believe it was the census in 2022, 1 in 4 children still live in fatherless homes. And we know that if we think back to, I'm a purpose driven person, right? So when I think back to when my purpose was first being built out, it was definitely between the ages of 7 to 13. And those were the most crucial years that I recall needing my dad, right? It would have shaped my future left and or right. So knowing that statistic, reflecting on my own life and reflecting where I was as a young girl between the ages of 7 to 13 really shows who I am as a woman now in my 30s and even for you, right? In your age, which we ain't gonna give that out, but that's really what it is. Like, how can we know? Okay, let's look back. I'm all about the African ancestry and Sankofa too. Let's look back to see where we did come from. What did we do? what worked, what didn't work, and what can we now do. It's literally, this summer is literally going to be in stages of, what, here's the first step that I can take. Now I've acknowledged that. What else can I do now? And how can I praise my daughter in the end and really rebuild that bond? So that's why.
Yes, and there are so many reasons. I really appreciate, sometimes statistics are like, man, that's depressing. But it sets a foundation, right? And as you were talking, I thought about this other study which says that as girls are approaching adolescence, they can really feel their dad sort of pulling away. So dads who were initially very, very affectionate, the daughters can really feel their dads pulling away. And basically it's because dads are okay, are uncomfortable, not sure how to talk with her about her developing body during puberty, or not sure how to talk with her about romantic relationships or different situations, more mature situations that she might be in. And so his response is to pull back. And for a lot of girls, remember, they're like 11, 12, 13. So in their childhood mind, when dad pulls back, they feel like he doesn't love her anymore.
Mhm,
And that is just so heartbreaking because that's not the case, right?
mhm,
That's the
mhm.
furthest from the truth. But dads could really, really use some support in that area.
Absolutely. And I'm even remember my own experience. I mean, although right now I am, as of this time of this recording, I am a divorced woman, but I think having had gotten married, it really did shine a light, right, on, okay, where did I, what was that moment in my life did I feel unloved, right? And how did I end up playing in my relationship? So yeah, being able to just start to acknowledge it. I think that's the big difference between, if you're going to go to a parenthood workshop versus, hang out with your guys at the barber shop, or the gals at the hair salon. We're actually going to take the time to acknowledge it and do the work. And you're one of the few people, because you're here, because you chose to be here, to make that difference and, break that chain. That's what we're doing.
Yes, yes. And so we are women talking about the importance of fathers. And, I'll just share a little bit about my story, and I'm just going to be very, very candid because I think dads need to hear it. So I grew up as a daddy's girl. I was so close to my daddy. He was real tall. He was 6'4". He's now in the land of the ancestors, but he was 6'4". We used to climb up him, like he was a tree. Very, very close. My dad was also very politically aware. He was actually an elected official. And so he would talk to us about, politics and stuff that was, going on, and race and racism. He would talk to us about all of that stuff. But one of the things, as I look back on it in hindsight, one of the things that he did not speak with me about was romantic relationships, was how to interact, with boys, or the fact that, at some point I was going to be propositioned for sex, or I was going to be propositioned for drugs. Like, we did not have those conversations. And I'm going to just be real clear, real, vulnerable with you guys, that I ended up having sex prematurely, ninth grade, 14 years old, right? Because I was not prepared for how to deal with those situations. And I think when dads think about protecting their daughters, a lot of them are like, well, I'm just going to shield them. Like, she can't date till she's 30. Well, the problem with that is that it doesn't prepare her. So when
Mhm.
she leaves your household, she is not prepared. So you want her to really be prepared. And she's really needing, your daughter is needing your leadership. She's needing you to lean in and initiate, these types of conversations. Because otherwise, she on social media trying to figure stuff out, or she's talking to her peers trying to figure stuff out, and they don't know nothing either.
Mhm.
So she needs your leadership, Dad. She needs that male perspective. It is just so important.
And I want to add that it's never too late. Even if you listening to this and you're like, dang, I remember, my daughter had a teenage pregnancy, and I'm just like, dang, what could I have done? It's not too late. although I'm grateful, I have a completely different experience because my dad is a Vietnam veteran, and then he was around. For me, I do have half siblings. My siblings, my older siblings are half siblings, so literally siblings from another mother. But my dad literally was around. Now, although I wish he communicated with me more about those tough topics, but at least I know I can say that I could go to him, right? I mean, although it wasn't always like he sometimes he'll put his military hat on, so it would be straight to the point and need to know basis. But at least I'm grateful that I grew up with both a mom and a dad, and then there could be that offset of the balance of when I am asking why questions, that my answer gets answered, right? Because obviously I'm asking because I want to further understand, and then with me further understanding about okay, what is it about marriage is so important because I'm a Muslim woman, right? So for us, it was like okay, you better get married, you better get married. But also, it wasn't one of those situations because there's a whole nother cultural aspect as well. I mean, we're not going to dive too deep into politics and religion, but you can't hide from it because we are spiritual people. But, just having those scenarios as well where you can, you know, women are so smart that all you got to do is give them the answer and they will take it and run with it, right? So I think what happens is because of that protective shield. I was literally watching the movie. I can't think of the movie, but it was like someone. No, it wasn't a movie. It was a podcast, and it was a singer, R&B singer named Case, and we know him from Happily Ever After. I'm missing you, and so um, he was saying how he grew up in a certain religious household, and then by the time he got out, it was like a spring, right? He was so protected, like it was a spring on your bed that was so just kind of closed up, and by the time he was 18, graduated high school, that spring popped. He did all of the things, right? And so I feel like it's the same thing with daughters. It's making sure that while they are still talking to you, right? While they are still in your phone, on your Facebook, in your face, at your house, asking you for food and money, use that time for a conversation. So yeah, we're gonna encourage you on how to do that, right? Because right now you probably like, okay, well, how? Where do I start? We're gonna show you.
Yes, yes, I love that. And there are just so many unfortunate stories of good girls, who grew up in the household, got good grades, went off to college. And when they went off to college, oh my goodness, were they then experimenting, some coming home pregnant, or lots of other things, losing their scholarships. I mean, those stories are like endless. And it's because they didn't have those preliminary conversations with their dads. So, Zakir, as I, talk to different people about this type of work, so many women, when I share with them, what I do, they always grab their hearts because they're
Hmm.
so moved, they're so touched. And
Hmm.
I've collected, some quotes from what they say. And is
Hmm.
it okay with you? I think we should show the
Yeah,
dads.
I already know I can relate to them. I already know.
All right, so we're gonna put this up right quick. So let's take a look, and this is just some of what women are saying about the importance of fathers. So one quote, wow, I wish my dad had this, Dr. Carmen. So these are grown women who are reflecting back on their childhood, reflecting back on their adolescence, wishing that their dad had this type of training or this type of knowledge. Another woman says, my dad tried to protect me by shaming me. He didn't know how to talk to me any other way. So bless his heart, he tried to protect her, by shaming her into not doing stuff. Well, that's not the way to go either. Another quote says, dads can make such a difference for a girl's and a woman's confidence. So for both. Another quote says, thank you for supporting dads with exclamation points, right? This big one in the middle says, my dad was very affectionate. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier.
Hmm.
My
Hmm.
dad was very affectionate when I was little, but when I entered puberty, that disappeared. As an 11, 12, 13-year old, I thought he didn't love me anymore. Years later, I realized he just didn't know how to be physical with a young woman daughter, right? And then finally, this quote on the bottom right says, I love that you are deepening relationships between fathers and daughters while bringing amazing support, and guidance to the daughter as well. So these are just more confirmations of the importance of fathers, Zaakirah. What you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Especially the quote about once I hit puberty, like hello, 11 to 13, the minute, oh shoot, she's bleeding, she got stuff going on down her body. I don't know what to do. I'm stepping away. That's exactly what I saw right there in that quote. And that is so relatable that literally as soon as it's like, okay, now I'm starting to realize, okay, she's eventually about to become a mother and a wife and everything that I made my wife and everything that I knew my mother for. What do I do? So that part stood out to me for sure.
Absolutely. And I love that you reminded the dads that during this summit, they're going to hear from brothers that know how to engage in these conversations, that are going to give dads, tips, practical tips, like they can go and immediately implement, which is why I love this lineup that we have coming up. We're going to do a little, something today with our speaker today, but tomorrow's lineup is so hot and fiery, right?
Jumbo.
So again, should we show the lineup for
Let's
tomorrow?
go. I'm ready. I want to know who
Okay,
all
okay,
gonna be there. Who's all gonna be there?
okay. Let me see. So for tomorrow's lineup, I am wondering if we should, because you saw how, did you see how that like
Yeah.
posted right quick when I
Go ahead
put
and show
that?
it again. I have an idea. Go ahead and show it again.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Because you are the guru. Yes. All your time zones are there. All your time zones are there. But we're going to be starting off with a little intro by me. And I promise it's only going to be 5 minutes. And then we're going to jump right into Brother Ernest James. And he's going to be talking about the core four values that every daughter should learn from her father. It's amazing. He does a great job of breaking that down. We're going to be talking to Courtney McWoods McLean. He's going to be reframing the word soft, and he has just an amazing way of conceptualizing it. I just so love it. Then we're going to go into Eddie White. His first name is James, but he goes by Eddie. And he's going to be talking about how we need to reframe how we provide and protect and like what that really means. We're going to have Rod Owens. We're going to have Tosin Oni. He happens to be the CTO of Sanicle, which is just so amazing as well. So this lineup is absolutely incredible. I just realized we only got like a minute left before we got
Because
to.
it's last but definitely not least, we're gonna start off with a super amazing Grammy winning producer. And actually he's starting off with him first because he's already at Grammy weekend as we speak. So we are starting off with Christopher Clavon CL McCoy, and he is talking about the joys of being a single girl dad, that bachelor girl dad. Okay, and so he's really kicked it off strongly with all of the things that you all would definitely resonate with. So I feel like we're gonna, end it right there, but we'll be right back to talk a little bit more about how we all felt about that conversation.
Yeah, so enjoy our first talk, everybody. We'll see you guys afterward.